Hey guys, so there's been a huge shift happening in our market, and in order for us to help our sellers to the best of our abilities and make it a win-win situation for both the buyer and the seller, we've gotten super creative with some of the transactions that we've been doing. One of the situations that we have found to be most successful for a lot of sellers who purchased between that 2018, 2019, 2020 kind of time frame when rates were really low is something called a non-conforming assumable mortgage. This is also sometimes referred to as a subject to offer, meaning that the offer is subject to the existing mortgage. So what happens in this instance is the buyer will make an offer on the property with the loan remaining in the seller's name. And why this is advantageous to the buyer is because they're going to be able to take advantage of that seller's locked-in interest rate, many of which are in the low threes, which we know today we're not finding anything like that. So the buyer's taking advantage of the lower interest rate, and the benefit to the seller in this type of situation is the buyer's typically willing to pay a little bit more for the property. So a lot of the folks that bought at the peak of the market are now in a situation where if they sell, they're either not going to make anything or they're going to fall subject to a short sale situation, meaning they owe more on the home than it's actually valued in the market today. So with the buyer being able to take advantage of that interest rate at the low threes, maybe fours, they're able to pay a little bit more. So the loan stays in the name of the seller. How this works is the entire contract is done through an attorney. We have them draft up a land trust for us. Property moves into the land trust while the seller still owns the property. And then upon the closing, the trust moves over to the buyer. Now, a lot of sellers have had concerns about what happens if they don't make the mortgage payment, right? If it's still in my name. So in that situation, there's safeguards in place for you as the seller with this type of loan assumption. The contract is typically written that if the payment isn't made within 26 days, the seller gets to relinquish the rights to the property. Now, the folks that are buying these, however, are quite savvy, and they're giving a down payment, sometimes upwards of $50,000, $60,000, $100,000. So if they're not going to make your mortgage payment, you're then going to be able to keep all of that down payment money plus any payments that they made on your behalf through the duration of them owning the property. So that's one safeguard that's in place. Number two, there's some servicing companies that we can recommend to be used where they'll notify you as the seller, the lien holder, to get notice when the buyer has actually made the payment. So every month you can see that the payment is being made. One of the benefits to this is the buyer isn't having to pull out a new loan. However, the caveat to it is this is only going to be advantageous for a seller who isn't necessarily needing to remove that debt to income from their personal loan history, right? Like if you're going to go and get another loan to buy another house, this probably isn't the best scenario for you. But given that our market has a lot of second homes, seasonal properties, folks who might be moving out to an assisted living or in with family or choose to go and rent somewhere, this is a perfect strategy to use because they're not having to take out another loan. So if you have any questions on how this works, want us to run through some scenarios and even get some offers presented on your home to see what this would look like, feel free to reach out to me. My name is Lindsay. My number is 262-492-3178.